Hello and welcome. Tonight, Nigeria Governors Forum meet with the Chief of Defense Staff, considers the deployment of advanced technology and infrastructure to improve surveillance. National Economic Council kicks against the current livestock rearing system in Nigeria, says it fuels farmers and herders' clashes. The People's Democratic Party reacts to the political shake-up in Delta State, describing the defection of Governor Sheriff Oborewori and other key figures as shocking and unexpected. And President Donald Trump asked President Vladimir Putin to stop after a wave of attacks on Ukraine leaves about 12 people dead.
World Federation of Exchanges seeks clear digital currency framework to mitigate market risk.
On sports news tonight, Leicester City announced legendary forward and captain Jamie Vardy will leave the club at the end of the season after 13 years as the former Premier League and FA Cup champions.
And from the nation's capital, unions of Nigerian aviation professionals call off strike following intervention from Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development.
We begin from the nation's capital, and the need for an innovative initiative to tackle the menace of rising insecurity formed the core of discussions as members of the Nigeria Governors Forum met in Abuja. The agenda on security comes on the heels of recent killings and resurgence of terrorist attacks by Boko Haram insurgents and other armed groups across some states in the country. The meeting, which received a brief from the Chief of Defense Staff, considers the deployment of advanced technology and infrastructure to improve surveillance.
It's the regular meeting of the Nigeria Governors Forum to discuss some national issues. And top on the agenda for the day is the issue of security. As members arrive at the venue of the meeting, the Chief of Defense Staff also arrives on the invitation of the governors for a security brief.
Welcome, sir.
The meeting, which was well attended by members, held behind closed doors for over 4 hours, after which the governor of Imo State briefs journalists.
The forum received a presentation from the Chief of Defense Staff on an innovative security initiative aimed at strengthening national and sub-national capacity for early threat detection and coordinated response. The project envisions the phased deployment of advanced technology and infrastructure to improve surveillance, crisis management, and public safety. Governors expressed support for the initiative's objective and underscored the importance of technology-driven solutions in addressing evolving security challenges at the state level.
Benue, Plateau, and Borno are among the states that have recently witnessed brutal killings of citizens. And the governor of Kaduna State is seeking an end to what he describes as the blame game.
In my last interview, I made it clear that we are not having enough boots on ground. So no matter how we try to address the issue, we have to look at other aspects, particularly looking at non-kinetic approach, because when you look at the security agencies in Nigeria, look at the military. Like I said, we have less than 300,000 military personnel in Nigeria. You look at the entire police personnel in Nigeria, there are less than 400,000. We're a country of about 230 million. So there are a lot of ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. You can, whether in the north, in the south, or everywhere. So we have to look at other areas of addressing the issue of insecurity. That is the reason why I believe we have to work, all of us together. We don't need to blame each other. We have responsibility. We are leaders. We must address the problem.
Insecurity is a major challenge across the country, and many residents hope that the governors who are the chief security officers of their states will be alive to their responsibilities to protect lives and properties.
Recent acts of violence in some communities of Bokos and Basa local government areas of Plateau State have been described as a direct assault on shared humanity, the rule of law, and the fundamental right to life as enshrined in the nation's constitution. Several groups, including the NBA, that's the Nigerian Bar Association, observed that several arrests were made each time there was an attack, and the perpetrators have never been prosecuted to deter their action. As a departure from the past incidents, they are demanding the immediate prosecution of the suspects and a review of the state security architecture.
Since the attacks in Herti, Mayanga, Dares Manda, Manguna, Josso and Ganda in Dafo district of Bokos local government area and Zike Kimakwa in Basa local government area, where over 100 people were killed, residents of these communities remain in mourning and living in fear. Some groups in Plateau State are calling on government at all levels to look into the immediate and remote causes of these attacks and find permanent solutions to them. At a press briefing in Jos, the state capital, members of the 4 branches of the Nigeria Bar Association in the state condemned the attacks, calling on security agents to rise above rhetoric and deliver swift justice.
This is not a communal clash asserted by some individuals in society, but an intentional attack to wipe out helpless citizens sleeping in their homes in the night by wicked men who have no regard for human lives. We cannot continue to be silent in the face of this barbaric and evil act of killing innocent citizens and taking over their ancestral lands, making them strangers in their own home. We on this note make the following demand. 1, the immediate identification, arrest and prosecution of the perpetrators of these wicked acts, that all perpetrators who are arrested be prosecuted in the state and not to be taken to Abuja, where we do not hear anything about them, indicating that they have been released.
Another group, the Plateau Civil Society Forum, is calling on security agencies to redouble their efforts in ensuring safety of lives and property and for citizens' cooperation as well.
The Plateau State CSO Forum condemns the Bokos recent killings in its entirety. It is a setback to all the peace-building efforts by government and partners in the state. Secondly, there is the urgent need for proactiveness on the part of security agencies, both conventional and unconventional alike, to curb the killings and destruction in Plateau communities.
For his part, former Plateau State military administrator and retired Rear Admiral Samuel Atukum believes that a census of those in occupation of communities taken over by the attackers is necessary at this time.
All these things are directed towards land grabbing. I've said it in some forums. I said, look, what is the difficulty in identifying these lands where these killings have been going on, documented, followed up through a period to find out who are these people. Now, once you are seen later to have occupied that land, then you are an accomplice.
While contributions from the federal, state governments and individuals have been timely to help provide succor to traumatized residents of communities that have suffered from violent attacks, what they need more than temporary relief is adequate and permanent security in the affected areas to help them resettle in their ancestral homeland and return to their livelihood.
The current animal husbandry system in Nigeria requires modernization in view of the increasing security challenges in the country. And that's coming from the National Economic Council. During its meeting, chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima, the council also gave an approval to the Ministry of Livestock Development for a strategic growth plan that will see Nigeria generating between $70 to $90 billion from the sector. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
At about 11 in the morning, some governors and deputy governors from across the 36 states of the Federation began converging on the council chamber of the presidential villa, Abuja, for the National Economic Council meeting. Vice President Kashim Shettima arrives for the meeting, and before settling down, he asks Governor Sharif Oborevori of Delta State, who decammed from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress the previous day, to say the opening prayers. The sole administrator of River State, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Bars, is making his first appearance at the meeting after his appointment by President Bola Tinubu in March. Before the business of the day, a minute silence is observed in honor of those killed in recent attacks in Plateau, Benue, Kwara, and other parts of the country. The meeting goes into a closed-door session, and hours later, some governors and members of the NEC make their way into the press gallery to brief State House correspondents on some of the outcomes of the meeting.
Council today also received...
NEC had taken a major decision on livestock production in the country.
Council received today a presentation from the Honorable Minister for Livestock Development and Growth. And his presentation has to be dealing with on the strategies of accelerated livestock growth. The presentation projected that the strategy will build up to 74 billion down to $90 billion in that sector by the year 2035.
Governor Duri says NEC believes this will help tackle security challenges in the country.
After going through the presentation, Council endorsed the key recommendations of the presentation, especially the focus on addressing the crisis fueled by the current system of animal husbandry in the country. Emphasis is placed on cattle ranching and peace building. And we believe that Council, the ministry's presentation on cattle ranching is a modern solution to the issues of farmers-herders clashes.
The National Economic Council has also taken some steps to revive the cotton and textile industries in Nigeria.
Council noted and considered their prayers, which are, among other things, is the establishment of a Cotton, Textile and Garment Development Board as a regulatory body for cotton, textiles and garment factory regulatory authority.
The agri sector also got the attention of the Council.
Council approved the prayers and sought in the presentation particularly the establishment of the Green Imperative Project, national office in Abuja and regional offices across the 6 political zones.
The decisions reached by the National Economic Council are expected to have far-reaching positive impact on the national economy. Council also received presentation from the Ministry of Education on the Technical and Vocational Education and Training (TVET) initiative, which seeks to empower Nigerian youths with necessary skills. NEC wants the state governors to participate in the project to reduce the rate of unemployment in the country. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, says a forensic audit of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited will commence soon. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria Governors Forum meet with the Chief of Defense Staff, who considers the deployment of advanced technology and infrastructure to improve surveillance. National Economic Council kicks against the current livestock rearing system in Nigeria, says it feels farmers-herders clash. The People's Democratic Party reacts to the political shake-up in Delta State, describes the defection of Governor Sheriff Oborevori and other key figures as shocking and unexpected. And President Donald Trump asked President Vladimir Putin to stop after a wave of attacks on Ukraine leaves about 12 people dead. The security situation in the north central region and other parts of the country has been with us for over a decade, and efforts are ongoing to curtail it. That's coming from the chairman of the North Central State Governors Forum and Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule. He spoke on our political program, Politics Today.
We're having these problems in the North Central, we're having them in the Northeast, we're having in the Northwest. What can we do? How can we come to your aid? What do you want from us? So those were the kinds of meetings that we have had. We started with progressive governors meeting. We went to Nigerian Governors Forum. We went to NEC this morning, and then we concluded just now with the North Central Governors meetings. And in all these meetings, issue of security were discussed at length. But I don't think it is somehow new for us. This is an accumulation of a long-time challenge that we have had. Issue of security have been in the country, for close to 20 years now. As a result of that, you continue to have these kinds of issues that they will come on and off. So when a situation is like that, it's not yet under, you can say under siege may be a very, very tough statement to make, but action is being taken. And we'll succeed at the end of the day.
Now to some worrying news from Kaduna State, where bandits have abducted a Catholic priest in Kauru local government, Reverend Father Ibrahim Amos. The priest was kidnapped from his residence at St. Gerald's Kwasi Parish in Kurmin Riska community in Kauru local government in the early hours of this morning. The latest abduction comes less than 2 months after another Catholic priest from Kafanchan Catholic Diocese, Reverend Father Sylvester Okechukwu, was abducted and later killed by his abductors in Kaura local government area. Police authorities in Kaduna State are yet to confirm the incident, but the Chancellor of the Catholic Diocese of Kafanchan, Reverend Father Jacob Shanet, confirmed the abduction of his colleague in the statement he issued today. He described the abduction of yet another priest in the diocese as a deeply saddening one, but called for prayers for the safe return of the abducted priest, just as he urged the public to remain calm and avoid taking the law into their own hands. Reverend Father Shanet further said that every legitimate means will be deployed to ensure that the abducted priest returns unharmed. As you would have thought, the Delta State Governor Sheriff Obura Warrior's decision to dump the PDP has already generated reaction from the People's Democratic Party. The leadership of the party has described his defection and others in the state as least expected, as the PDP has done pretty well in the state since its inception. Acting National Chairman of the PDP, Mr. Umar Damagum, stated this at the presentation of certificates of return to the party's candidate in the forthcoming election in Anambra State. Mr. Damagum, who placed the future of the party in the hands of God, says the fate of the PDP in the 2027 general election will not be determined by the number of governors it has, as it will be a fight between the masses and the ruling APC.
It's very sad and unfortunate, because to me, if there's any state that should think that way, not Delta, because the party is very magnanimous. I thank God that in their message, they didn't say that the party did anything wrong to them, other than good. It's a decision taken by them, but the pains will be in us. Not because of anything, but because we felt we have given all responsible support that we are supposed to give to Delta State, from the emergence of the governor to his predecessor, who also doubled as our vice presidential candidate. I think we have done it all for them in Delta, and we least expected this action from them. And I want to use this opportunity to say we'll take over our structures immediately by setting up a caretaker We are still taking stocks, and we will do that immediately. This election in 2027 is not about how many governors you have or how many leaders you have. It's Tinubu and Nigerians.
We're all familiar with the popular saying, at first, if you don't succeed, then try again. Well, in Edo State governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the September 21st, 2024 governorship poll, Aswe Ighodalo, says defeat at the polls have turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Mr. Ighodalo explained that watching the political terrain from the outside since then has taught him a lot of lessons in humility, which will enable him be a better leader once the governorship mandate is reclaimed at the courts. He was speaking at a crucial stakeholders meeting of the Edo PDP at the party secretariat in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Former Edo State Governor Lucky Benedion, former PDP national leader Tommy Kimi were among party stalwarts at the event.
You know what God has done in the last 5 months? Because if they swear us in on November 12, many things we know today, we're not going to know them. God Almighty is teaching us strong humility. God Almighty is teaching us strength of character. God Almighty is teaching us that it is not the face, it is the character of the man and the woman, what is inside them, not what is on their face. All those people that we selected by what was on their face, we know where they are today. God has told us that these are the men and women you can work with, not those ones. We would have made a disastrous mistake if we had been sworn in on the 12th of November. So God has taught us this lesson, and it's a lesson we must all learn. We must learn humility. We must learn strength of character. We must learn that loyalty appropriately, godly loyalty pays. And I thank you all. Henceforth, in this our great party, we will restructure, re-strengthen, and refocus the party. You work for the party in loyalty, you will be rewarded more than appropriately. Days when people that didn't work, who are not supposed to be rewarded, are the ones that are rewarded. Those days are finished.
Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has announced that a forensic audit of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited will soon commence. The minister was speaking at the Nigerian Investor Forum, which is held on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank spring meetings in Washington, D.C. in the United States. He explains that the recent rejigging of the management of the NNPCL is part of the steps by the federal government has taken to audit the company.
And we're going to stay the course. And I think this time around we can say.
The Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, alongside the central bank governor and top officials, are meeting with these investors as part of plans to improve the nation's foreign investment portfolio.
The issue
Mr. Edun highlights why Nigeria is a top investment destination following the federal government's strategic plans to audit the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, as well as boost investor confidence.
There's a forensic audit of NNPC underway so that we can really understand what has happened in the past. As for now, there's a reconciliation exercise going on, and the most important thing I think you said is that, look, NNPC needs to come to the table with more oil production, more revenue, dollar revenue, and indeed more revenue to the Federation. That's the task they've been set, that's the mandate they have been given.
There were questions from the investors.
But could you give us an idea of the level of foreign ownership in the domestic fixed income market, both the breakdown of bills and bonds?
Diasporans, what other incentives? I know you mentioned Governor Cardozo about remittances, but apart from remittances, I want to piggyback on what we discussed yesterday about alternatives, economic shocks, especially in Nigeria.
Both the governor of the central bank and the deputy governor in charge of economic policy respond. They speak to how monetary policy decisions are yielding results, promising that the Apex Bank will stay on course to ensure that both domestic and foreign investors benefit from its decisions.
We believe that as a result of adopting orthodox monetary policies, we have been able to stabilize the macro
And we are definitely in a much better place than hitherto has been the case. If you follow the recent ratings, Fitch has upgraded us more recently. With a very open, transparent, and much deeper and liquid foreign exchange market, which was more or less over the last 2 weeks with all the uncertainty. We've seen currencies around the region move significantly, but the Naira held stable and I believe only moved around 4%. And we have seen over the last 18 months, most importantly, the significant reduction in the premium between the official market and the parallel or the BDC market.
Potential investment areas the government is considering include agriculture, infrastructure, and power. Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
Let's head to the nation's capital now, and Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Millicent.
Hi, Ayosinde. Many thanks. We begin with the aviation sector, where unions of Nigerian aviation professionals have called off the industrial action which crippled the sector in the last 24 hours. The suspension of the industrial action followed a meeting by the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, who has vowed to see to all the demands of workers of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET. The workers down tools over the non-implementation of the national minimum wage, past allowances, among other issues. This meeting between the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, the Director General, NIMET, officials of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, and unions of the Nigerian aviation professionals, is aimed at ensuring a speedy resolution of issues raised by the unions. The meeting begins behind closed doors as journalists are asked to take their leave. After 5 hours of deliberations on the demands of the protesting members, bordering on the non-implementation of the new minimum wage, ignoring requests to include omitted staff and past allowances, and neglecting key training programs, among other issues, the Minister of Aviation speaks on the outcome of the meeting.
We looked at the issues and we discovered that there was not much disagreement, really. They raised the issue of salary relativity. We have since agreed on this. I was the one in our last stakeholders meeting in Lagos. I agreed that the salaries of NIMET in particular, the Nigerian Meteorological Services, was atrocious. It was not at par with other aviation agencies, and it was only natural that their patience will run very thin.
The minister then makes a promise to write to the President and Minister of Finance over the issues raised.
It has been agreed that I will immediately write a letter to Mr. President, acknowledged, and show them the acknowledgement copy by latest Monday or Tuesday next week, for the release of these funds for payments, for immediate payment of this shortfall. So I will be doing a letter in that regard immediately and follow it up with the Minister of Finance.
The elated union officials immediately announced the suspension of their industrial action.
The communique, you can see in the communique, all the demands, our requests, he have attended to it. Even out of the demands, we have right now, as I'm speaking to you, he has attended to it, which it has been approved.
With the union's pledge to call off the strike, the workers are optimistic that the federal government will match words with action. Still ahead on the news at 10, World Federation of Exchanges seeks clear digital currency framework to mitigate market risks. That's on Business News. Please stay with us. From our Abuja studios. Meantime, there was another protest by teachers and nurses in the Federal Capital Territory over similar demands such as non-implementation of the national minimum wage and the staggering backlog of allowances, some stretching back to 2 years. The aggrieved members of the Nigeria Union of Teachers and the National Association of Nurses and Midwives converged on the Nigeria Labour Congress headquarters, their placards bearing strong messages directed at authorities to address their grievances. The protesting workers also leveled serious accusations against area council chairmen, alleging a severe neglect of both the health and education sectors within their respective councils. In a swift reaction, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike addressed the grievances of the protesting teachers and nurses during an inspection of the ongoing projects in Abuja. The minister laid the blame on the area council chairman's failure to implement the approved 70,000 naira minimum wage. He says despite issuing a clear directive and approving the necessary funds, the council chairman were yet to comply.
It's unfortunate, but we have to tell ourselves the simple truth. The area council chairman, after I have approved money to be sent to them for them to be able to pay the teachers, we were unable to do that. In fact, I got a report yesterday, and I'm able to summon all of them. You see, that is the problem we have in this country. By the time you apply the district now, people will be saying all kinds of things. I don't know why people don't have conscience. That these are teachers who take care of our children, and you are happy that you are not paying them their salary. These are primary school teachers, not secondary school teachers. You know the responsibility of the councils. They are in charge of the primary schools. So I've summoned them to a meeting. Also continue to appeal to NUG to give you some time that this is really sorted out.
Now to security in Bauchi State, where the police command says it has so far recorded 0 cases of student abduction in the state, a development it attributes to increased surveillance, proactive policing strategies and strong community engagement. The Commissioner of Police made this known during a meeting with the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 12, at the Bauchi State Police Headquarters. He further disclosed plans to launch a safe school protection squad to sustain the progress made so far. Our correspondent Hajara Aliyu has more.
It's the first official visit of the Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 12, AIG Abubakar Aliyu, to the Bauchi State Police Command since assuming office. The visit includes an interactive session with officers and men of the command aimed at strengthening security and sustaining the peace currently enjoyed in the state. In his address, the Commissioner of Police highlights the command's strategies and upcoming initiatives designed to enhance safety and community policing.
It may interest you to know, sir, that the command has recorded 0 student abductions, reflecting the impact of our visibility policing and intelligence-led operations. In a bid to consolidate these gains, and in line with the Inspector General of Police initiative to provide a secure atmosphere for institutions of learning across the country, the command is on the verge of launching the IGP Safe School Protection Squad. This squad will be equipped with state-of-the-art, real-time intelligence gathering tools and highly trained personnel dedicated to safeguarding educational institutions across the state.
The Assistant Inspector General of Police. The AIG begins his remarks by commending officers for their efforts and dedication. He, however, reminds them of the importance of accountability and professional conduct.
Let's try as much as possible to see that, yes, we protect fundamental human rights and the right of animals also. Let's be disciplined enough. Police work is grounded and based on solid professional discipline.
The visit ends with a warning to officers to steer clear of activities that could tarnish the image of the police force. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
And that's it now from the nation's capital. It's over now to Will Ibong in Lagos for business news. Thank you, Millicent. The World Federation of Exchanges, WFE, has warned that a lack of clear, unified policies on central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, could lead to legal confusion, market dominance by few players, and cross-border transaction challenges. In a new policy paper, the WFE emphasizes CBDC's potential in driving tokenization, making assets more accessible. It advocates for collaboration among exchanges, banks, and asset managers to establish a stable CBDC system, reducing reliance on riskier options like stablecoins. We apologize for that technical glitch there. The World Bank, we just have to start again. The World Federation of Exchanges, WFE, has warned that a lack of clear, unified policies on central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, could lead to legal confusion, market dominance by few players, and cross-border transaction challenges. In a policy paper, the WFE emphasizes CBDC's potential in driving tokenization, making assets more accessible. It advocates for collaboration among exchanges, banks, and asset managers to establish a stable coin system, reducing reliance on riskier options like stable coins.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to bid you all a very warm welcome to this 4th annual general meeting of our company, Guarantee Trust Holding Company, PLC.
That's the chairman of Guarantee Trust Holding Company, Mr. Ezekiah Onyilola, welcoming shareholders to the company's 4th annual general meeting held virtually on April the 23rd, 2025. At the meeting, shareholders approved and commended the payment of a total dividend of 8 naira 3 kobo per share for the 2024 financial year. In his address, the chairman attributes the group's success to operational excellence, disciplined risk management, and customer-centric innovation amid macroeconomic challenges. Speaking on the group's 2024 performance, Group Chief Executive Officer Mr. Segun Agbade highlights GTCO's historic milestone of over 1 trillion naira profit before tax, making it the first Nigerian bank to reach that mark.
Well, we will continue to work hard, as we've always done. We will try to innovate. We'll try to be disciplined. If you look and read the annual report, you will see that we're changing technology, we're growing different areas, and that we have transited from just being a bank to a holding company. It's funny when I hear the accolades today about going holding company, because I remember 3 years ago, everybody said we came late and that we wouldn't grow the funds management business, we wouldn't grow the pension business, we wouldn't grow the payment business. But I think the results are beginning to show you that the diversification of earnings into a holding company and outside of Nigeria started to work very well. And that for as long as we continue to do these things, we will sustain the momentum of growth. Cost to income ratio, 24%. You like the cost efficiency. I think we decided about 14 years ago that probably one of the only sustainable sources of competitive advantage in banking was cost. And so we have very tight expense controls, we have very tight costs. And when you compare our entire cost profile to those of our competitors, you might find at the very minimum a 600 billion naira advantage year to year. There is a correlation between good governance and strong profitability. So selfishly, we will continue to do the same.
Now, the World Bank has appointed Aliko Dangote, Group Chief, the CEO of Dangote Group, to its private sector investment lab, a global initiative focused on boosting investment and job creation in emerging economies. Dangote joins top business leaders like Bill Anderson of Bayer AG and Sunil Bhatti Mittal. In a statement, Dangote emphasizes commitment to sustainable growth. The lab will focus on removing barriers to investment and creating jobs, with Dangote bringing his expertise in business and development to the initiative. Now we head to the domestic stock market now, which has sustained positive sentiments for 3 straight days. John Mekwa has the details.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the stock market report. So for the third
trading session this week, MTN Nigeria market mover for today went up, gained 5 naira 90 kobo to close at 244 naira 90 kobo. That's about 2.51% gain. But this is why the green color has been retained at the NGX today. Other contributors we see at the sector. So yesterday, banking did very, very well. So some of those profits from yesterday have been taken off. So we see down 0.2%. But for consumer goods, doing better than it did yesterday. Cadbury, Dangote Sugar, Honeywell Flour, International Breweries for the third trading session is gaining. Unilever also joined, so it's a beautiful gain right there. Oil and gas has recovered because of Japan Gold. It's up 0.27% for today. At the close of trade, some money, a lot of money, has been added to the market cap. 495 billion naira added to this. So we're doing better than just getting back into the 66 trillion. It's 66.667 trillion naira for the market cap. And the oil share is beautiful at 0.75%, a green number. Back to a new level also right here. 106,074.26 is what we have for the oil share index. It's a good market today, a green one, and the bull wins again.
Thank you, Ini. Let's see if other global markets performed as well as the NGX. And that's business news. Is back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Will. U.S. President Donald Trump says the United States is putting a lot of pressure on Ukraine and Russia to secure a peace deal, but outlines no specifics. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5 from our London studios.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Russian missile and drone strikes on Kyiv have killed at least 8 people and injured another 77 in the deadliest attack on Ukraine's capital since July. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky cut short his trip to South Africa in response, but did meet his counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa. The latest attacks come hours after President Donald Trump criticized Zelensky for saying Ukraine would not recognize Russian control of Crimea, a point of contention in the US's bid to secure peace in Ukraine.
If it doesn't happen, I will say that I think Russia is ready, and a lot of people said Russia wanted to go for the whole thing. And I think we have a deal with Russia. We have to get a deal with Zelensky, and I hope that Zelensky, I thought it might be easier to deal with Zelensky. So far it's been harder, but that's okay. It's all right. But I think we have a deal with both. I hope they do it because I'm looking to save, and you know, we spend a lot of money, but this is about a lot of humanity. This is the worst. I get the pictures, the satellite pictures. I've never seen anything like it.
India will identify, track.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said India will punish every terrorist and their backers following an attack that killed 26 people in Indian-administered Kashmir. The country has closed its main border crossing with Pakistan, expelled its military diplomats and suspended a landmark water-sharing treaty. Pakistan has denied involvement in the attack. Gunmen burst out of forests and opened fire on visitors with automatic weapons in the shooting near the picturesque tourist town of Palagam on Tuesday. More funerals are being held today for those who were killed. The victims include a honeymooning groom and a businessman on holiday. On the streets of Gaza, more and more Palestinians are expressing open defiance against the armed group that's ruled the Strip for almost 20 years. Anti-Hamas protests have been growing in size and frequency, with people taking to the streets to demand the group step down from power. Masked Hamas militants, some armed with guns and others carrying batons, have intervened and formally dispersed the protesters, assaulting several of them. Many hold Hamas responsible for plunging Gaza into the worst crisis faced by Palestinians in more than 70 years.
For every Beninese child who dies, every Beninese family grieves.
Benin's government has admitted that 54 soldiers were killed by suspected jihadists in the country's north last week, near the borders with Burkina Faso and Niger. The authorities had previously said that only 8 soldiers had been killed. The revised figure makes it the deadliest known attack since insurgents began operating in northern Benin at the beginning of the decade. The attack has been claimed by an al-Qaeda-linked group, which is based in Mali, but has in recent years expanded its operations to neighboring countries. The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwandan-backed M23 rebels have agreed to halt fighting in the east of the country until peace talks mediated by Qatar reach their conclusion. It is the latest truce deal since the rebels stepped up an offensive in eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where authorities say 7,000 people have been killed since January. Both sides on Wednesday jointly announced to work towards peace following more than a week of talks, which they described as frank and constructive. Last month, Congolese President Félix Tshisekedi and his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame also reaffirmed their commitment to an unconditional ceasefire in a surprise meeting in Doha.
London, are you listening?
And the date of Paddington the Musical has been announced. The 3 film adaptations of Paddington have been a huge success at the box office since the first release in 2014. The musical, which has been developed for 5 years, is based on Michael Bond's original novels.
Are you there?
The show will open at the Savoy Theatre in the West End on the 1st of November and follow Paddington as he arrives from Peru seeking a new home in London.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Athletics Federation of Nigeria, AFN, has confirmed that the country's contingent will compete in the men's 4x100 meters, women's 4x100 meters, and 4x400 meters mixed relay, and the newly introduced 4x100 meters mixed relay at this year's 2025 World Athletics Relay. The World Athletics Relay is scheduled to take place in Guangzhou, China from May 10th to 11th. According to the AFN, 100 meters hurdles world record holder Tobias Musa and favorably will lead the women's 4x100 meters team, while the men's 4x100 meters squad will be anchored by Favor Ashe and Ushorishe Ishakiri. The AFN adds that the decision to field teams in only 4 events was guided by Nigeria's strength and the goal of maximizing medal chances. Relegated Leicester City have announced that legendary captain Jamie Vardy will leave the former Premier League champion, and at the end of the season, Vardy, a key member of the side that lifted the English League title against all odds in 2016, was described by the club as their greatest ever player. The 38-year-old joined the Foxes in 2012 from non-league side Fleetwood Town for $1.3 million and is the club's record Premier League goal scorer with 143 goals. He was also part of Leicester City's 2021 FA Cup winning side. That sports is back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Chris. And the main news again. The Nigeria Governors Forum have met with the Chief of Defense Staff and considered the deployment of advanced technology and infrastructure to improve surveillance. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. From all of us here, to have a good night.